John, I'll tell you, you know, Model 700 here, we got Trigon on it, went to the range and shot it, and I hunted with it for a whole year.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I probably should have cleaned it more than I did, but I'm bad about that. And I think a lot of deer hunters are bad about that, you know. We just probably don't clean them as much, and you've probably cleaned thousands and thousands of rifles, so am I doing it right, doing it wrong?
Well, Mike, you know, from a hunting standpoint, I mean, most hunters aren't shooting more than 2, maybe 3 boxes of ammo a year. And for a lot of hunters, that's a lot.
That's right.
You know, there's some that are only not even shooting a whole box a year with their range time as well as their hunting time. So I would tell you, for the average hunter, you know, it's not necessary to clean your gun during the season.
So don't be obsessive about it.
Don't be obsessive about it. You know, you're not shooting bench rest accuracy here, you know. And you shouldn't see any accuracy degradation, you know, over 60 rounds. You know, particularly because you're shooting a cold barrel every time. So your barrel's not heating up. You shouldn't have enough copper fouling, you know, from a hunting standpoint for it to really be a huge issue for you. But now, you know, I do like to keep my rifles clean, and every season before the end of the season, you know, I always give them a good cleaning before I put them up.
It's good tip.
But also, you know, one thing that I never do, is go hunting with a clean barrel. I mean, every season, you know, before the start of the season, I'm going to check my zero to make sure nothing's shifted, nothing's changed. So I'm going to get some shooting on it then. But, you know, for one example, you know, one of the rifles that we've talked about that's one of my favorites, my 280, that rifle with a clean barrel, my first 2 fouling shots are going to be high and left almost 4 inches at 100 yards. And
99% of the deer hunters would think, I need to clean my gun, and then I'm ready, and I'll put it at deer season, I'll go hunting, right?
Right.
So they'd be what?
You know, they could be off. That's exactly right. I mean, you know, I could, you know, put a bad shot on a deer or miss a deer completely, you know, as much as mine is off if I was shooting with a perfectly clean barrel. So, you know, I never hunt. I basically hunt with a dirty barrel, and recommend that to some extent. But we'll walk through today, you know, just a good basic cleaning on what you need to do.
When it is time to finally get your gun clean, what to do.
Yep, and the tools that you need. Now, of course, before you get started cleaning, because you've been hunting with it, because you've been at the range, it is important to make sure before you ever get started that the gun's unloaded. You can't check that too often. I mean, I always check it when I get out of the tree stand, before I put it up in my truck, when I get home again, you know.
That's right.
I'll check it 3 or 4 times.
We double check this one right here, took the bolt out, removed it.
Bolt's been removed. But the one tool that I recommend, you always want to clean from the breech to the muzzle.
Breech to the muzzle.
And I like to use a bore guide. And what you're going to do here is just slide this through the chamber, bring that in, and then lock this down. Okay. Now I'm cleaning today with a 1-piece nylon-coated cleaning rod. So the nylon being much softer and has a brass tip on it, being much softer than the bore. You're not going to scratch anything. And then this is a 30-06, so I've got a 30 caliber cleaning jag here. I'm going to start with the appropriate size patch that I need. I'm going to give it just a little bit of the Barnes CR10, which is a relatively aggressive solvent. It's an ammonia-based solvent. All right, Mike, now that we have our patch saturated with the CR10, we're going to run that saturated patch slowly down the bore. And then we'll remove the patch. And you can see, you know, you've got a little bit of blue color on there. And that's actually the copper reacting with the ammonia here.
Oh, okay.
So now that I've run that down, I'm going to wipe this down, get any of the solvent off. Now I'm going to switch this jag out to either a nylon bristled brush or a brass bristled brush,
So you're just doing 1 patch through there for now?
1 patch for now, And then we're going to repeat this process, I mean, you know, with down and back in the bore, with our brush.
Yeah, you brush.
And I'll typically brush the bore 10 times, down and back. So, you know, there's 1. And it's a good idea, you know, to kind of wipe the rod in between to get any of that solvent off of there. Now, the ammonia base that I was talking about, being relatively harsh, you know, ammonia does a wonderful job of dissolving copper. And there are some who believe that ammonia will pit your bore. ammonia will not pit the bore of a stainless or a carbon steel rifle.
Will not.
It will not.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about that. Okay. But you do need to get it all removed.
Okay.
Because what ammonia does is attracts water.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So if you leave it in there, and you and I live in North Carolina and Virginia, respectively, where it's humid, you leave it in there, it's going to draw moisture to it, and it is going to pit.
That's right.
So okay. that's where that has come from over time, of people thinking that ammonia-based solvents will do that. So back and forth 10 times, and then I'm going to switch back to my jag, and run a patch through there. And then, hopefully, your patch starts to come out clean and you stop seeing the greenish blue color. Now another way you can do this is you'll notice you've got a slot here in the top of the bore guide, but you could drip it in there.
I see, yeah.
But being outdoors, I don't mind being a little messy with it.
Okay.
So you can see that's, we've still got a little bit of residue there, okay? And that's from what's been worked loose over the last time with the brush, So now we go back to the bore brush and we continue that process. Now for the sake of the video, I'm only going to do this once or twice, and then we're just going to go ahead and wrap this up.
Okay. But you would do the second time 10 times again, or no?
Well, yeah, I'm going to do the second time again.
So 10 more
times,
brushes, yeah.
10 more times,
Yep.
Down and back, and then I'm going to check it again with the Barnes CR10.
Okay.
Okay. Switching back to the jag, but the one thing that I'm always going to finish with is a dry patch to make sure everything's totally dried out and removed. And then we're going to go to a lightly oiled rim oil patch. Okay, to give it some protection, from corrosion during the off season.
You can see we're getting there.
So now, if we were to the point to where I was happy with the barrel and the barrel was totally clean, is now the point where I would apply my rim oil to go ahead and just coat the inside of that barrel.
And so this is our last step right here.
This would be our last step.
Okay.
And that would be our last step.
Okay.
Now, this is a synthetic stock rifle, so I'm not worried about the solvent that we're getting here. Wipes right up. If it was one of my nicer wood stock rifles, I'd lay a rag or something in this area to keep solvent from getting in there. But once you've got to this point, basically all you need to do is wipe that barrel action down with a light coat of rim oil, and put it up in the safe for the season, and you're good to go.
And shoot it again before next season.
Absolutely, shoot it again. Now, the only time I recommend doing more than this is, say you've been hunting in the rain all day. At that point, you do want to clean this rifle. At least wipe the bore down with the treated rim oil patch. And I would even recommend pulling the barreled action out of the stock, because you're going to have water that'll get underneath the barreled action and be trapped between the action and the stock, and you can get some rain in there. But that's only if you're hunting, in the rain for an extended period.
So 95% of the time, this is what this series right here is.
That's exactly right.
Going to get it clean, going to get it shooting accurately.
And shooting accurate.
Great.
And that's what you need.
That's what you need.
Yep.